The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Let's listen as Lorraine Lapointe, coach, therapist, educator, speaker, and founder of Head Heart Synergy, brings together another enlightened guest to inspire and motivate us to move forward, achieve our dreams and desires, so that we experience midlife awakening.
And I'm your host, Lorraine Lapointe. Today we'll enjoy another candid conversation that reveals how to bring back a sense of balance and how to find forward focus. Today, take just a few moments to join us as we explore the possibilities and the perspectives that provide us with greater inner peace, power, passion, and purpose. Because that's what I call living at the edge of fulfillment in a midlife awakening. Hello and welcome to you wherever you are in the world. It's so good to see you here. And the edge of fulfillment is an invitation to explore what's keeping you on the edge and to explore interesting people and how they found ways to go beyond the edge to experience greater fulfillment and to step into a vision that's more powerful than memory and a future that's more powerful than the past. And today our guest helps to make others' lives extraordinary as they experience glamping in bubble huts. Now, you might say, what is glamping? Well, that's a great question. Let's take a look. Doesn't that just feel delicious? Well, glamping is an opportunity to stay in a glamorous structure, fully pampered with the finest of surroundings, while still enjoying the great outdoors. So glamping is kind of like the best of both worlds. It's inside and it's outside. And our guest is the creator of a supreme quality bubble structure with a 360-degree, good morning, Tammy, with a 360-degree panoramic view of the night sky that allows you to gently fall asleep under a blanket of stars. You know, oh, it sounds exquisite. For those seeking something out of the ordinary, Bubble Huts provides restorative or a romantic adventure in a wide variety of environments and settings. Yeah, you can imagine yourself surrounded by the beauty of nature in a clean, comfortable, private space situated in the middle of a vineyard, an orchard, or a garden. You know, their bubble huts themselves are found in very interesting places, from Puerto Rico to Abu Dhabi. These dome structures are like blank canvases, and you can create the perfect themed environment, an event space or a holiday display, even somewhere to dazzle your audience as you feature something like a new product. You know, so let's learn where there's a giant inflatable globe or dome, and maybe there's one in your future. But before I go any further, I'll quickly introduce myself for those I haven't met before. I'm Lorraine Lapointe. Good morning, Sherry. So good to see you. I'm Lorraine Lapointe, and as host of this live radio and talk for TV program, I'm here each week on the edge of fulfillment to explore and expand our thinking about how we can best show up in the world. And I work with many who have reached the point in their life where they're ready for something bigger or better. As they release stress and strengthen their sense of inner self-care, they discover new ways to trust themselves in the moment. And sometimes that might mean that you get to hang out in your own bubble, literally or figuratively. And before introducing our guests, you'll want to know that anytime on this show that you have a question, a comment, or a like, please share, because here on Edge of Fulfillment, you create the opportunity to make life better for someone else in the world. You know, your comments, your likes, and your shares means that my company, Head, Heart, Synergy, provides access to a day's clean water wherever it's needed most in the world through b1g1.com. And this means that when you comment or connect with us, you help someone else in the world to live better. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for helping me to help others. And so let's take a little short break. Go ahead, send out an invitation to friends or family to join us here on the Edge of Fulfillment. And they can jump in through the Head Heart Synergy Facebook fan page, or they can pick us up on W4WN, that's the Women for Women Network Radio, or they can jump on at talk4tv.com. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Mental fitness, the missing X factor for enhancing performance, achievement, and success. Mental fitness empowers you with the magic of 3: stabilized mood, peace of mind, deeper relationships. Time to make it happen? Grow the self-command muscle. Intercept your self-defenses. Build your inner wisdom. In less than 15 minutes a day, gain the missing X factor. Let me show you how.
There comes a time we wonder, what's next? For women like us, as we stand at the edge of fulfillment, are you feeling unsettled, restless, not quite right? That's midlife awakening. Are you looking for fulfillment? Or to squeeze more juice out of life? Midlife awakening at the edge of fulfillment, don't miss it. We understand. By phone or laptop, wherever you are, come join us. Friday 10 a.m. Eastern Time, on Head Heart Synergy Facebook business page, or here, on the Women for Women Network Radio and Talk4 TV.
Hey, welcome back. So today we are meeting entrepreneur and CEO Amy Kaiserman, and she is a true pioneer within the glamping industry anyway, because she has brought the Bubble Huts product line to the global marketplace. Good morning, Rachel. Yes, glamping. It's amazing. You know, Amy has been personally involved in spreading the awareness of what glamping is to the American public since 2014. Bubble Hut's company, as a company, has earned its position as a leader in the glamping and experiential hospitality industry. And, you know, I'm not going to tell you about her. Let's meet her right now. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, Lorraine. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's so good to have you here, Amy. And we've already given our viewers and listeners a hint as to what glamping's all about. But right now, I mean, I'm hearing from a lot of my clients that the world seems to have gone like just a little crazy, a little mad. And the thought of spending some time in a beautiful place inside my own bubble sounds really, really appealing. So where would you like to start your story?
Well, I think it's appropriate to start probably like how I had started, because I was 43 years old when I began Bubble Huts. I was coming actually in a divorce of 20 years, not knowing where I was going to go, what I was going to do, what my future would actually be. But I knew somewhere inside of me, I always wanted to be into business. And I was working for a gentleman who was actually in business. I was working alongside him, who had some experiences in making inflatable tents, or not tents, but inflatable structures. And I had seen the bubbles before overseas by a company, a gentleman in France who is like an architect. And I seen him and I was like, man, I really want to design my own brand. I want to design my own thing that I can offer people a way to experience the great outdoors. Because me too, I'm a girly girl. I love being outside, but I don't love bugs and I don't love dirt. So I wanted to know, how can I do this? How can I enjoy being out, sleeping under the stars, having the fresh air, seeing the nature and the beauty and everything, but yet still have my comforts and, what I want. I like electricity. I like running water, so, I was combining those things. And so this man, I was working with, who is now actually my husband, he was like, I'll help you design them. He goes, but you're going to build your company and you're going to do what you got to do to make it happen. And I far exceeded my expectations. I far exceeded his expectations. And here I am now today. Like you said, I started in 2014 and now I'm beginning to explode, which is really, really exciting.
That is very exciting. And so when I think of an inflatable structure, I think of a bouncy castle. Right. I think of, something like that. I can't imagine what it feels like to be inside this bubble structure. Like, for instance, like, what does it sound like? Can you hear the outside, or are you separate?
No.
Tell us about this.
Yeah. Okay. So when you go inside, it is an incredible feeling. Everybody has to experience it, but it's quiet because everybody's like, the first thing they ask, because like you said, they refer to the bouncy houses. And when you see those bouncy houses, usually they're very loud and obnoxious. Whereas the systems that we have developed are quiet because people have to sleep in them. So when you walk in, you just feel this freshness and this fresh air, and you can hear the outside, but it's sort of buffered. It's not like, okay, I'm sitting outside and I hear every little sound, but you can hear some of the sounds. And more than anything, I think it's the visual. You see everything going on around you. When you're inside too, it's an amazing acoustic sound that is produced in there. And actually I've had them on music videos because music artists love the sound because it amplifies everything when you're inside. It's an amazing experience. I imagine that's just, as you said, amazing, a lovely, lovely experience. It is. And, there's been times I'll even take it out, even myself, and we'll go up north in Arizona just so we can lay under the stars and we'll play music. And it's like your own little environment. It's just an incredible thing.
So is this something that takes a long time to put up? Is it like a tent where you lay it out and then it just puffs itself up? Or good morning, John. I can't get my head around it because I'm so insanely curious. So
it's a lot like a tent. It's a lot like a tent. You stake it down to a platform or a wooden deck. Some people will put it up. Like my very first client, she put it directly on the ground. So you stake it like you do a tent. And then you turn on the air inflation system and you install a frame. So the whole setup of the actual structure itself can be done within 45 minutes. And then we ask, usually my clients will leave these up for 8 months or even all year long because they're more of a semi-permanent structure than they are the weekend. It's not for your weekend warrior. It's not really for your backpacker. I mean, these things weigh starting out at 150 pounds and go up.
Yes, you're not carrying this on your back into some wilderness spot to set
up. No, a lot of you pretty much leave it where you put it. and so you turn on your system and it's inflated within minutes. I always tell people it takes longer to decorate it than it does to install it.
I worked with some students. Oh, look at that. Yeah. I worked with some students once on something called Marsville. And it was what happened with the kids was they were given some plastic. They had to create a structure by taping the plastic together. We used little fans. And the idea was they spent the whole day living in Marsville. And like
That's
one
awesome.
structure would be talking about what they would do for water on Mars. Another one would talk about what they would do with electricity. Another one, plants. Another one. And the kids could crawl between tunnels, between the structures. I was amazed at how quickly you can inflate a structure.
It is amazing.
And you
I was too, believe it or not, when I started making it, it was like, wow, this is really easy, that, once it's down on that ground and you put on that button, and it's easy too to take down. It's not so hard. It's not like a permanent structure or, it doesn't have a lot of parts and components. I mean, my frame for this structure only has 4 legs and 2 hoops. And that's it. So it's very easy to use, very easy, friendly for users to use.
So I see a lot of them have a base,
yes,
like a wooden platform. Thanks, Rox. Yeah, something like that. But you said that they can also go on the ground.
Correct, because they're made with their own internal base. So basically, the floor of the bubble is made with a material that is colored. And I let my clients choose their colors and their designs. And that material, as you see in that one right there, it's gray. So that material is pretty much the consistency you would see like in a tarp for a truck, a semi-truck. It's really strong and very durable. And, people are always like, well, what about punctures and things? I've never had my clients ever have a puncture. And I've got one of my clients, she's been using the tent now over 6 years, the same tent.
Wow.
So we make them to last. Yeah, not of the best quality materials I can find. I'm always looking for the best to offer.
Well, and I see some of them have sides, like opaque sides, and some of them are clear all the way around. So I guess you decide that when you design it.
Because what I do is I have each client, we personally design them in a way for them. So they go through a consultation process. And so I ask them, like for the clear, if they want all clear, do you want curtain loops? Because we put curtain loops in them so that somebody can hang up curtains and have privacy.
Oh. That was going to be one of my questions. Like, okay, I want it clear in the daytime when I want to look out. Yeah. But at night, I would feel a little bit exposed if I didn't have something.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have curtains that we can do. And so, and when we do the designs with the opaque material, I offer it in different ways too, depending on what my client is looking for. Some of my clients, they have people that are really close together. So they wanted walls that were 9 feet tall, but just the clear top. Then I've had clients that like the slants so they can stand up and see. I've even made back walls where it's almost like it looks like you're hugging the bubble and you have it all clear on top and then clear in the very, very front. So we take in mind with what the client has on their property and what they're trying to achieve with their bubble. And so I let them choose those colors. So like that's a slanted one.
Right.
And so that will go down to about, I would say we make it about 4 feet 5 inches. So when they're laying in bed, depending on the size of the bed, will determine, where they want the wall. And some country, like Abu Dhabi, for instance, they're more of a conservative, private kind of community. So when we designed their tents, we created their privacy wall. Even though it's on a slant, we created it a little bit higher for them.
Right.
Yeah. So we take everything into consideration and we let them choose their colors and all kinds of stuff.
I mean, I'm so excited about this because since seeing bubble huts, I've actually been thinking, I wonder if I could put one there.
Yeah.
I could put one there. Now I understand that some people have used them for Airbnb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A large majority of my clients actually are Airbnb hosts. I've been working with Airbnb hosts since 2016 when my very first Airbnb client I started with. And, I'll have people who maybe just have one in their backyard. And then I've had people where they'll have 3 or more. So, I work with people at all different levels of, business, I guess you could say, because then, Abu Dhabi, of course, is more of your resort. So I work with everyone from just an individual in their backyard all the way up to hotels and resorts.
You mentioned something about electricity and water. Of course, these don't come with electricity and water. Do they require that as a source? I mean, obviously to blow your bubble up, you would need some sort of power.
Yeah, you do need to have a power source. So I've had people who actually will use solar. And like, for example, I have these gentlemen up near the Grand Canyon, and they're completely off grid. And so they offer their tent on a very basic level. They couldn't have the air conditioning. They couldn't really have the heating because they're just on a smaller solar system. But then, for instance, Abu Dhabi, they had the electricity. They didn't have any issues. So they had all kinds of mini split units that are heating and cooling and bathrooms. And, so again, it just really depends on the budget of my clients and what their abilities will be. But you do have to have a power source, and it's not a lot of power that they require. It's only like 3 amps. It's like plugging in a house light is basically the amount of power you need.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. And so if somebody wants a bathroom, we even design them then so that they can have plumbing inside of the tents and have their running water. And so it's like a room in a home, but it's an inflatable room.
It is just amazing. I as soon as you start to talk about it, all these ideas start popping into my head about where it could go, what it could do, how it could be.
It's amazing.
So you said that you saw this.
You
started in 2014 yourself, but
I very first saw a picture of a bubble. And it was overseas in France in end of 2013 is when I saw the photo, the very, very first time. And I was like, that is really beautiful. And it was an all clear, and it's a little bit of a different design overall. But I was like, that is really, I could do this. I believe I could do this. Especially because I had someone who came from an inflatable industry. So it was like, okay, I want to make my own. I want to design my own. And so that's what we began doing, was designing. And we went through so much R&D. It's unbelievable. I have pictures of, when we started developing them, different shapes, because they didn't come out quite as a bubble at first, and all kinds of stuff. I was like, oh my.
Well, actually, now that you're saying that, I mean, could you have an oblong? I guess you could, a rectangular shape space.
Yeah. You can have all kinds of stuff. And sometimes I will even, I have a client in Hawaii right now. He has one on top of the roof of his home. He rents an Airbnb. Him and his wife live in the lower portion. They rent the upper, apartment. And then they have on top a skylight platform. And they put one up there. And so the person on Airbnb who rents this also gets this bubble. Well, his deck was small, so he couldn't really have the bubble shape because it would go overspill onto the railings and stuff. So I custom made a little, I call it a gumdrop kind of a shape for him. So that, and it's fun because I have an opportunity, being the designer and having the ability to do all kinds of shapes. I mean, I've even done special projects where I made, believe it or not, and this isn't a bubble, but I made a mason jar for a Star Wars producer for his event and stuff. So I've had fun. I've been able to create different things.
Well, and that answers, I think, or starts to answer Rachel's question. Rachel had the question of, thanks, Roxy. Can you use bubble huts for decorations and activities? And I understand there's a bit of a story about you quite recently at the Super Bowl. Would you like to talk a little bit about activities, events, how these things have been used?
Sure. Well, I always say they are a blank canvas, so they have been used for just about anything you can imagine. I've seen people do campaign, like marketing ads. I've seen food fights being done, that, little displays of products. That was in a mall when they were starting to decorate. Mall displays. I've had a little, what is it? Like not a daycare, but it's called like Toddler Town. And they made a ball jumpy pit for children to go inside of. People throw parties in them. They have dinner in them. Just recently, like you had mentioned, I was in Hollywood, and I was offered an opportunity as a guest to come and bring my bubble and share it. So I got to set the bubble on top of the Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. And what we did with that is we created just a little sitting area for people to come inside and relax and to actually have a chance to get interviewed. And it was really neat. And it was interesting because, LA, I'm like, oh, it's not going to be hot, but let's bring an AC system just in case. And sure enough, we needed that AC system because it was very warm in Hollywood. It was like in the mid 80s, and we turned on that AC system, and everybody's like, wow, it is really nice in here. They didn't want to leave the bubble because it was a nice little environment for them to be in. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Does it get like super hot in the bubble if you're in a sunny area?
Well, what we do is we tell people, yes, it does. I mean, it's like a fishbowl or a magnifying glass.
I was just going to say that's what came to my mind is, oh my goodness,
Yeah. So what we do is we have shades for them. So we tell our clients, during the daytime, we ask that you shade them. And, and if you don't shade them, don't put people in them because we don't want to fry them. Right. So we have the shade structures. We even have people that will just do the slip-on shade covers that we give, or like Abu Dhabi that produce and make the infinity shades. So it all depends on the complexity and the budget, again, of my client. And then we have AC systems. So we put AC air conditioners like you would find in a hotel in them as well.
Yeah, I think in that last picture I saw the standing unit.
That might be that one there, that little unit actually wasn't the AC system. That is an air purifier we put in there. A company that I had met had asked if they could put one of those in there. And I was like, of course, with COVID and everything. And it was wonderful. I mean, everybody was like, wow, it's refreshing in here. It feels good in here. Nobody got sick, which is awesome. So there's enough floor space for it. We had a freestanding AC unit in there along with that unit, along with 4 chairs and was a table and everything. So there's plenty of room inside to have what you need.
Yeah, it's like that. I'm getting a sense they're a large room.
Yeah, they are. And they start out, that one in that picture there is actually not one that I usually will use for glamping. It's a little bit smaller. It's a 10-foot floor plan. So it's 10 feet circumference of space, but I make them usually 12 feet and larger. I've made them up to 25 feet, which is a huge structure that people have used. Like I had one that was in Pittsburgh, a Pittsburgh Steelers had used one where they created a theme environment for guests to come in and meet the players and all of these other things. I've had somebody use one, a 25-footer, to do an outside pop-up fitness facility. So it's like a pop-up, whatever you want it to be, a room, really.
Well, and I mean, it obviously makes people happy because I feel myself smiling as I think about them and that kind of thing. It just, so here's a question for you.
Okay.
Oh, there's a cool.
Yeah, that's one. Actually, that's a special one I made for during COVID. I had a convalescent home contact me because, they were a lot of the loved ones were separated from each other because of COVID, and they wanted a way in which they can bring in their loved one family member with the elderly. So, and I put a wall. We sewn in a all clear wall in the middle. So the patient would go in one way, the family member would come in the other, and they'd meet in the middle and get to visit with one another.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's brilliant, especially for those super high risk situations where, and that way that I'm sure it felt far more intimate than kind of waving at someone through
a window. Yeah, I mean, because you could touch with the plastic.
Yeah.
between you.
Yeah, that reminds me of I can't remember the name of the show, but has a little boy on it who lives in a plastic bubble.
The boy in the bubble, right?
Yeah, that one too. There's another show out there somewhere right now that has the person needs that too. So yeah, these are great photos. I'm really appreciating seeing all of the photos. And I'm unfortunately those on the radio will only hear about the ideas, but I wonder, what is the best mistake you ever made with the bubbles?
The best. Oh, I think every mistake is the best mistake because I've been able to learn from every one of them. The best mistake. I really can't say there's one. I mean, there's been so many different things that I've learned through, the designing and learning from my clients of how, because a lot of my clients too, as I was developing my product, were developing with me, and I would always ask for their feedback. So, I mean, I've even had it. I remember one before I got the waterproofing down. Oh my, it was like raining. And then I would get the client, oh, there's water coming in my bubble. What do I do? So I had to learn how to solve every one of those issues.
I never thought of that. So tell us a little more about when it rains. What happens?
Okay, well now it's fine. But in the beginning, because my product is hand sewn with a machine, it's a sewing machine. And so, you have your little fine holes. And when I first started out, I was just having my guys use the industrial machines and the thread. Well, with those little holes, if there's a lot of rain, you're going to get the water coming in. And so over time, I had discovered different threads that I now use that come from the marina industry. I use certain sealing tapes that come from the marina industry. So now all of those things are put into the bubble and we no longer have those issues.
It's all those little nuances when you create a product and you bring a product to market.
Yeah.
It's impossible, I would imagine, to try and anticipate everything. kind of what keeps running through my mind is, oh, thank you, John. Yes, the cleaning lady was the show that has the son who's in a plastic bubble. Okay. It reminds me of, 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Exactly.
And of course, now we make light bulbs of all shapes and sizes and colors and that kind of thing. I love that, Rachel. She wants one in the backyard with a huge sign that says, "No kids."
It's the adults' fun.
Oh my goodness. Yes. And Rachel has a lot of children. So I love that. I love that you can put it somewhere and create that private space for yourself. And now, are these, I mean, obviously every one of them costs a different amount, but are they thousands and thousands of dollars, or are they affordable alternatives?
Well, I would say when it comes to a structure for glamping, they're one of the, they're not the cheapest. I mean, they're not like I can go to Walmart and buy a tent. I mean, they start out at close to, a little over $4,000 and they go up from there. But like I was saying, my clients are using these on Airbnb. And so they will make the return on their investment within 3 months usually. And then the rest is all profit from there on the tent portion. So like, for instance, my client that purchased one back in 2016, she purchased hers. I think it was only at that time, like a little over 3,000, maybe it was 3,500. I don't remember. Well, she's made over $200,000 on this tent.
Wow. Now, Jerry had an interesting question there because you're in California. No, you're in Arizona.
Yes.
Arizona. Yes. She said, are they in Canada and how easy are they to ship?
Okay. Yes, they are in Canada. I have a client in Ontario, and right now I'm working with someone designing a 4-room bubble tent for them up in British Columbia. And so I'm breaking more and more into Canada. And as far as shipping goes, I have to send them on a trucking, through a trucking freight company. They come on a pallet. The whole entire kit does. So you'll get your you'll get your bubble tent structure, you'll get the frame, and you'll get the air inflation system. So they are not something that just comes in the mail. They actually will be delivered to your home with the truck.
Well, and I would imagine that when you first lay it out, it's wrinkled and needs some time to like shape and that kind of thing.
It does. Yeah. I mean, just like when you order, if you order a piece of clothing or something from like Amazon or something, you take it out, you got to press it, steam it to make all the folds and wrinkles come out. Well, the same thing with the tent, because we have to tightly roll them up in order to ship them. So they're tightly rolled up, put into a large bag. So when you take it out, it's going to be wrinkled. And I tell everybody, it's going to be wrinkled. Don't be shocked. It will. And so but the thing is, those wrinkles usually will remove themselves within 2 to 3 days when they're sitting in the sunlight. And I also have tricks of getting it out. For instance, when someone's using this for an indoor event, or for myself at the last minute on top of the wax museum, I had to get those wrinkles out. I didn't have the time. So there's ways in which I tell my clients, okay, this is what you do with a heat gun. And, I very clearly instruct them and show them how they need to do it. And to make it look like glass, because that's the thing is, when those wrinkles come out, it's like glass. It's an amazing thing.
This is a most delightful product. Like, I'm just like, my brain is going, I want bubbles. Like, I think it attracts the child in us.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I totally agree. That's what I say. I say, there's all ages love the bubbles. I mean, and me too. I love the bubbles. It's just so much fun to be around bubbles. I mean, we all can remember as a child playing with the bubbles. Well, this is a just really big bubble. And it's cute because I have a grandson and he's 2. And my grandson, I showed him a picture and he's like, big bubbles, and it was like, oh, he knows it's a bubble, so kids love bubbles, adults love bubbles. Anytime I put a bubble somewhere, like if I take it out into the public and stuff, it draws people in. People want to come see the bubble and go in the bubble. It's just an amazing thing. It attracts. And like you said, the imagination and the childlikeness in everyone.
So when you go into the tunnel, before you go into the bubble, I'm imagining there's a zippered doorway and you need a transition space, right?
Yes.
From the outside air to the inside air. Because the inside air is pressurized in order to hold the bubble together. Is that, am I kind of getting it right?
You're right. No, you're right. So it's a dual lock chamber. So in order to keep that bubble room up, you have to make sure that you have one of those doors always remaining shut. And so, we have the zippers, but now we also make them where you can put real doors on them, like a hotel does. And so, or like your home does, where you can lock them and stuff with doors.
So you don't have to crawl through a tunnel.
No, you would open one door, you shut your door, and you open your other door, and then you go in.
Oh, that's awesome. Like in my mind, it was a tunnel and I'd have to get down on all fours.
Oh, no, these things are tall too. They start out at almost 6.5 feet tall.
The tunnel.
Yeah, the tunnel is tall. So because I had to accommodate for men who are also going in these, and nobody wants to always have to crawl in or feel like they're in a little hobbit home or something. So we designed them to be a standard size.
So tall men, like I have a friend who's 6'3", so he's not going to have to like scrunch down and crawl in. And
well, he may just lick a little bit on his head.
Well, he does that in a regular house too. Yes.
Yeah. Well, no, he doesn't have to crawl in. He can stand up.
That is fun. Look at how beautiful that. For those who can see the picture, I mean, it's a beautiful deck with this clear bubble and just looking over an amazing, obviously you need the amazing place to put it. That's, and I mean, in Canada, so, all right, I always have to go to the practical side, right? So here we are in Canada, we can only probably use it 4 to 5 months of the year because of our colder temperatures. Has it ever been put up in the winter?
Not well. They've had them all the way up until probably when it starts to snow, because I really don't recommend keeping them up all year long. Not that you can't, but the thing is you want it. They're not insulated like a home. So you
they'd
have
be
to
very cold.
Yeah, so you have to make sure that it's got a robust heating system, because you have to keep that material warm in order to prevent any.
Well, the other thing is we have something called snow load for those who
Yeah.
are in countries that don't have snow. There's a snow load. In other words, snow is not light and fluffy.
Yeah, exactly. It can get heavy. Yeah, and it's funny because I tested the bubble out for a year in the Midwest, actually right below Lake Michigan, to see how did it hold up in every season, because like you said, in Arizona, I don't get snow where I'm at in Phoenix. So, it was an interesting test. It held up even in the snow with the snow load. But what I noticed is if it got too heavy and we didn't, tap it to brush the snow off, once it started to accumulate over 2 inches, then it started to go in a little bit. It can hold it. It's just, I just say, make it easy on yourself. You don't have to keep it up all year round.
Well, and it is round. You could just tap it and the snow could slide off.
Exactly. And if you keep it warm enough inside, it melts, so like when you're driving your vehicle and you have your, heater on your window and stuff, how the snow hits it and it melts off. Well, the same thing. It will melt off a lot of it too.
Yeah. And I would imagine to clean it, you just deflate it and put some stuff on to clean it and then squirt it off and away it goes.
Yeah, well, you don't even have to deflate it to clean it. What we tell people to do is to take a garden hose and like a telescoping pole, like a pool pole or something, and a little cleaner, and just use water and a little bit of Dawn dish soap and rinse. And that's all you got to do. It's very, very simple to take care of.
Oh, I'm so excited about these, Amy. I mean, it's like I said, the imagination kind of runs wild about what you can do with them and how you can use them and what they would feel like. And, is there something that now that you'd wished that you'd known years ago about bubble huts?
Well, building the company and the product, I think, and that, like I had mentioned this even to my husband, I said, because he would always say, always enjoy the journey. Because, when I was doing the R&D and I'd have my own personal, disappointments or, oh, why can't this work? And I'd be like, oh, wait a minute. And because I was so focused on the goal a lot of the time. And it's learning to enjoy the whole entire journey. Even those happy times, those sad times, those frustrating times, because I've had a lot of those, but to enjoy every moment and to just, learn from it and look at it as a lesson or another chapter in the book of your life, really.
Yeah. Is there a particular project that you're working on now? Because with so many innovative ways of using them, is there a project that you're working on with bubble huts or personally that you wanted to tell us about?
Well, actually, I have two. The one, like I was mentioning, I'm excited because I'm developing a 4-room bubble tent for a client in Canada. And so that's an exciting thing too, because I've only made them up to 2 rooms so far. So now to go from 2 to 4 rooms is going to be fun. And I know it's going to have its challenges, but I'm looking forward to it. So that, as far as that side goes. And then another side that I'm looking forward to is I'm beginning to start I'm hoping and working with a group of people to start a program where I can put bubbles into the hands of more people who would like to have one and do a partnership with me and my company with them as like little sites, working with different Airbnb hosts.
Oh, that sounds so cool. John just had a great question and he said, has there ever been one at Burning Man?
No, I wish there would. No,
I would love to go to Burning Man, and this is something that I could see taking there and exposing more for bubble huts.
Exactly. And I mean, and that's the thing is, I'm like, okay, there's only one in me, and I need a whole team of people to take these out and do all kinds of things with them. So I'm hoping one day that I'll see someone take them there.
So do you joint venture? Like one of the things that I do in my business quite often is I joint venture partner with others. So is that
Yeah,
something that you ever consider doing with
I
others,
am.
is joint ventures?
I am
Awesome.
definitely. That's where I'm at right now.
Oh, there's a couple more. We see we have all these questions for you. Thanks, Rachel. How easy is it to patch and do they pop?
Okay. Well, they're very easy to fix. Is we give you with your kit comes a little patch material. And so you can patch it that way. Or what we say is you send it back to us and we'll fix it. We either we will resew a panel or do whatever we need. They've never popped. So even if you get a tear or a puncture, it won't come down. They're made because these structures actually release air. So they're made to release air. Yeah. So it's not like, a balloon where you go and stick a pin and it's all of a sudden going to deflate. It doesn't do that. It remains erected. So you can have a pretty good gash put in the side of it and it'll still remain up for you.
Like it won't collapse on your head or anything.
No. The only time it would ever collapse is if you lost power. Other than that,
and then I would imagine it slowly comes.
Yeah. And then we have the entryway frame, so that always remains up and erected, so you can safely get out if something happen on it. I hope nothing ever, and I've never heard of anything ever happening of power going out. But, we have things too. We tell our clients, because people are sleeping in these, to use a 4-poster bed inside of them. So if you had power failure in the middle of the night because there was a storm, you have that material that never goes on top of the person.
That's a very wise thing to say.
Yeah.
That explains why there's always 4-poster beds in them.
Exactly. It's a safety measure.
Yeah, I had not thought of that. See, those are the kinds of things. So where do we, in 5 years' time, if we're checking in with you and when we check in with you, where do you see things being?
Well, my dream in 5 years is to see bubble huts all over the world. And especially in the US, I have a lot of international clients, and glamping is really beginning to take wave in the US. And so I would love to see these being offered for people to go spend the night in every state, rather than just one or two, but just everywhere. And I want to be part of it. I want to, join other people in this, the venture, doing ventures with others.
Awesome. Yeah, what popped into my head is African safaris.
Yeah. Right.
So sleeping out there with some of the wild animals. So
I know. And what's so funny is, I'd have people, well, what about bears? And I was like, well, what about bears if you're sleeping in a canvas tent? That's the same thing.
In fact, if they can see you, they're a lot less likely to
want to come mess with you.
Yeah, animals don't often really want to hang out with us. People are kind of other than our cats and our dogs, but they're domesticated. But most wild animals I've ever seen really don't want to come over and say hello.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all. And there, it was funny because I have I don't know if it was
Naked and Afraid. Yeah, in a bubble, Naked and Afraid.
Yeah, right. It was cute because I have a client in Colorado, and I don't know if there was a picture of that. I think I may have seen it on here, but they had it to where a moose was actually standing and looking at the bubble. And I was like, oh my gosh, could you imagine looking out at him from your bubble?
I know. And for some reason, I know it's only a plastic barrier, but for some reason it would feel safe to do that.
It does.
As opposed to take the plastic away and then there's the moose. I don't know. There's something in me that would say, oh, it's fine to look as long as it's a plastic.
Yeah, it does create a sense. There you go. See, there he is.
And there he is. Yeah. And what I love about that picture is, of course, it's the person who is enclosed and not the animal. Because
Exactly.
I think we enclose animals far too often. That's only my own personal opinion, but go ahead and stick a person in an enclosure and you can explain why you're doing it.
Yeah. Right.
But, well, thank you so much, Amy. Is there anything that you wanted to mention that you haven't had a chance to mention? Because we have about 30 seconds left, and people can get a hold of you by seeing the bubble huts. There's the Facebook page. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention that you haven't?
Well, I just want to say, I hope everyone gets to experience a bubble hut. And if you haven't, look on Airbnb. I highly suggest experiencing sleeping under the stars in one.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time and to answering all of our questions. And I'm sure there will be hundreds more that they can come up with, but we're out of time. So I'm your host, Lorraine Lapointe. I've been speaking with Amy Kaiserman here on the Head Heart Synergy, is reminding you that at the edge of fulfillment on this, there is a choice. You can stay on the edge getting what you've already got, or you can become just a little bit courageous and move beyond the edge to get what you really want, including a bubble hut. See you next week.
Thank you.